Man, this certainly looks racist. And so I had the team. I was like, hey, tell me what ESPN says about this. The woman who gives them a glimmer of hope that the WNBA won't lose racial justice warrior people would be up in arms and be like, hey, we got to call balls and strikes here.
You know what's crazy? A single moment can flip a whole game on its head. That's exactly what went down when Caitlin Clark got poked in the eye by Carrington. But here's the real question. Was it an accident or something more? Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now back to the video. Picture this. Just 90 seconds into the game, Clark's driving to the hoop when BAM! Carrington's finger meets Clark's eye. The crowd goes wild, but guess what? No whistle. The refs didn't call a foul, and fans lost their minds. It's like the whole arena turned into a pressure cooker. But this wasn't just any old foul. This eye poke was about to change everything. You see, Clark and Carrington, they've got history. There's been some bad blood between them, and now everyone's wondering, was this just a slip-up or did Carrington mean to do it? The game's barely started, but the drama's already through the roof. And trust me, things are about to get even crazier. Remember when I said things were about to get even crazier? Well, Clark went from MVP to barely recognizable on the court, but here's the real mystery. Why did she insist she was fine when her performance said otherwise? Let's break it down. Clark's been averaging 19 points per game this season. She's a scoring machine, right? But in this playoff debut, she only managed 11 points. That's a huge drop-off. And her shooting? It was ice cold. She only made 4 out of 17 shots. That's a measly 23.5% success rate. For a player of Clark's caliber, that's not just bad, it's shocking. Now you'd think after getting poked in the eye, Clark would admit it messed with her game. But nope. She came out and said, obviously she got me pretty good in the eye. I don't think it affected me. I felt like I got good shots, they just didn't go down. Really, Caitlin? Really? Here's where it gets interesting. Clark's usually money from beyond the arc, but in this game, she missed 3 wide open shots in the first half. These are the kind of shots she usually nails with her eyes closed, but not this time. It's like the eye poke threw off her whole rhythm. But Clark wasn't backing down. She doubled down on her stance, saying her shooting struggles were just frustrating. She felt her shots were good, they just wouldn't fall. Classic shooter's mentality, right? But when you're talking about a player of Clark's caliber, you've got to wonder if there's more to the story. Think about it. This eye poke happened at a crucial moment in the game. Even if Clark says it didn't affect her, the stats tell a different tale. It's not just about physical pain. This kind of incident can mess with your head. Suddenly you're not just focusing on the game, but you're also thinking about protecting yourself.
Man, this certainly looks racist. And so I had the team. I was like, hey, tell me what ESPN says about this. As close as we'll probably ever get to Tanya Harding, Nancy Kerrigan all over again. And so I foolishly assumed, play the video of Carrington nailing Caitlin Clark.
And let's not forget, this wasn't just any old game. This was Clark's playoff debut. The pressure was already on, and then boom, eye poke in the first 90 seconds. That's enough to throw anyone off their game. But here's the kicker. After the game, Clark didn't just brush off her own performance. She went bigger, saying, I felt like we just played a crappy game. It's like she was trying to spread the blame around, make it about the whole team instead of just her off night. So what's really going on here? Is Clark trying to save face? Is she genuinely unbothered by the eye poke? Or is this a case of a star player not wanting to make excuses, even when there's a pretty good one staring us right in the face? Pun intended. Forget the eye poke for a second. There's something bigger going on between Clark and Carrington. What started as mutual respect has turned into one of the WNBA's most explosive rivalries. And this incident? It's just added fuel to an already raging fire. You might be thinking, wait, what? There's more to this story? Oh, you bet there is. This eye poke isn't just some random foul. It's the latest chapter in a rivalry that's been simmering all season long. Let's rewind a bit. Before all this drama, Carrington was actually a fan of Clark. She even predicted Clark would lead the league in assists. That's some high praise, right? But somewhere along the way, things took a turn. It all started when Carrington called out Clark for supposedly exaggerating contact during a game. Fever fans weren't happy about that, and boom, just like that, the rivalry was on. But it didn't stop there. Carrington then criticized Clark for not using her platform to speak up on social issues. Clark's response? Well, let's just say it didn't exactly smooth things over. This back and forth has been like watching a tennis match, with each player trying to outdo the other. On the court, it's been just as intense. Carrington's been giving Clark a hard time, defending her like her life depends on it. It's made their matchups must-see TV. Everyone's been waiting to see what happens when these two face off. Then came the eye poke. Suddenly, this rivalry went from simmering to boiling over. The media coverage? It's been wild! Some headlines are making it sound like Carrington poked Clark's eye on purpose. That's got fans and analysts debating like crazy. You should see social media. It's like a war zone out there. Some fans are calling for Carrington's head, while others are defending her, saying it was just an accident. It's like everyone's picked a side, and there's no middle ground. This eye poke has become way more than just a foul. It's turned into this defining moment in their rivalry. It's like the basketball equivalent of crossing the Rubicon. There's no going back now. And get this, it's not just about Clark and Carrington anymore. This incident has people talking about bigger issues in the WNBA. Player safety, officiating standards, you name it. It's like this one moment has opened up a whole can of worms. So what does this mean for future games between these two? The stakes are higher than ever. Every interaction, every play, every word spoken in post-game interviews, it's all going to be scrutinized. The next time Clark and Carrington face off, you can bet the whole basketball world will be watching. This rivalry has turned into something bigger than basketball. It's become a story about competitiveness, about using your voice, about the fine line between playing hard and playing dirty. It's the kind of rivalry that defines careers and shapes legacies. You think this Clark-Carrington drama is just about two players? Think again. This A-pokey didn't just hurt Clark. It opened up a whole can of worms for the entire WNBA. How did one moment on the court turn into a full-blown crisis for the league?
I assume, are you kidding? Did her hand catch a cramp? Look at what her fingers and hands do. The woman who gives them a glimmer of hope that the WNBA won't lose $50 million this year like they have every other year in their existence. And so I just assume that all the social justice, racial justice warrior people would be up in arms and be like, hey, we got to call balls and strikes here.
Let's talk about the aftershocks. This incident has fans and analysts up in arms, calling for WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert to step up. They're demanding answers about player safety and officiating standards. It's like the eye poke was the last straw, exposing cracks in the system that everyone's been ignoring. But here's where it gets wild. Clark's teammates are catching heat too. Fans are asking why they didn't jump in to defend their star player. It's raising questions about team loyalty and player protection. Are we seeing cracks in the Fever's team chemistry, or is this just how the game goes? And you know what's even crazier? This whole thing has people talking about race in the WNBA. Some folks are saying Clark's treatment has something to do with her being white in a predominantly black league. It's a touchy subject, but it's out there now. Take Jason Whitlock, for example. He went as far as calling Carrington a deranged bigot and slammed the media for how they're handling this. He thinks there's a bigger racial bias at play here. Now, that's a pretty extreme view, but it shows just how heated this debate has gotten. But let's be real for a second. This isn't just about Clark and Carrington anymore. This eye poke has turned into a catalyst for some serious conversations about the WNBA as a whole. We're talking fairness, safety, representation, the big stuff. Fans are demanding accountability. They want to know why the refs didn't call a foul. They're asking if star players get special treatment, or if some players are treated unfairly because of their race. It's messy, it's complicated, and it's forcing the league to take a hard look at itself. Think about it. One moment, one eye poke, and suddenly we're discussing the future of the WNBA. How's that for a ripple effect? It's like this incident pulled back the curtain on a bunch of issues the league's been struggling with. And here's the kicker. The league can't ignore this anymore. The fans won't let them. This eye poke has become a rallying cry for change. People are demanding better officiating, better player protection, and a more open conversation about race in the sport. So what's next? The ball's in the WNBA's court now. How they handle this could make or break their reputation. Will they address these issues head on, or will they try to sweep it under the rug and hope everyone forgets? Let's talk about how one little eye poke turned the whole WNBA upside down. It's crazy, right? This wasn't just about Clark and Carrington anymore. It became a big deal for the entire league. Suddenly, everyone's asking tough questions. Is the game safe enough? Are the refs doing their job? And here's the kicker. It's even got people talking about race in the WNBA. That's some heavy stuff. This eye poke thing, it's not just changing the game, it's changing how we think about the whole league. It's got fans fired up, players on edge, and the WNBA bigwigs scrambling for answers. So here's the million-dollar question. In a sport where getting physical is part of the game, where do we draw the line? When does tough play become too much? The WNBA's got some serious thinking to do.